everyone. Welcome. This session will focus on Small Newsroom. But before we get started, I'm going to introduce myself. I'm Sabrina Argoub. As part of the team of JournalismAI, I manage the JournalismAI Academy for Small Newsroom, which is a program that works with small newsrooms around the world. We launched it last year with the first pilot training with the EMEA region. And then this year, we were super happy to bring this program also in the Asia Pacific region and in the Americas. And today with us, we have Itika, Sharma, Punit, who was one of the participants of this year Academy, the APAC cohort. And we're going to talk a little bit about how does a small newsroom start? What was the experience for Itika? I'm really curious to have this conversation. It's been a while since we spoke to each other. So the Academy this year ended in October, and it's just also an opportunity for me to hear from her and how this journey has been into getting all of the learnings from the Academy into practice in her own newsroom. So Itika, welcome. Great to have
Sabrina. It is so nice to meet you. It is so nice to see you and Matya. I have missed you guys. Thank you for having me here. It is very exciting. I'm looking forward to this conversation.
So yes, Itika, I guess I want to start with why you decided to join the Academy and what was the understanding of AI for journalism from your perspective when you started.
It feels very odd to have this conversation because I had a very detailed conversation about this with you, and now I will be telling the world that how dumb I was at the beginning of it. Well, I was curious and I applied for the Academy because I had been hearing about AI being used in various places for journalism, but I had never actually, I had never actually really sort of, done something by my own self. Or so I thought. I had never done AI until I realized what it really is. I am a tech journalist. I have been a tech reporter for many years in India, and you become half engineer while doing that, and also you have to stay curious about new technologies. So when I saw that you were having this program, I thought that I was very interested because I write about these technologies frequently. I edit about these technologies frequently. And I thought it would give me a better understanding of the technology itself if I saw its use in my work, in what I do. So I applied with a lot of curiosity. I will be very honest. I did not know much. I knew about AI. I knew about its implementation in, say, driving or in social media or in other spheres, basically because I had reported those stories and I had spoken to those analysts about that. But I wanted to understand how AI can be of use to me. Also, it gave me a lot of confidence because you and Matya promised that it's not going to be something that goes over my head and that it's going to be very advanced and I won't understand. So I was very, very nervous about it, but that's the main reason why I wanted to. I was curious. I wanted to know more. I wanted to know this technology that I keep reporting about, how it's helping others, could also help me and my newsroom.
Thank you, Itika. And that's indeed one of the things that we kind of start with at the Academy. We always want to make sure that everybody knows that this program is open for beginners, for people that have curiosity around what's the intersection of journalism and AI, but we don't require any technical skills or background. And also the program itself doesn't really focus on, building a prototype. This is a program in which the focus is on AI literacy and giving everyone the tool to be part of this conversation and implement it in their own editorial newsrooms. So I guess the next question for you, Itika, is more around those haha moments that we had during the Academy, in which, as you said, the curiosity was there at the start, the expectations were there, and the concerns as well. But were there any moments that you kind of thought, oh, I did not expect this at all from this program?
Well, there were a lot. Firstly, I have to commend you guys for the kinds of speakers you brought in to speak with us. I think the biggest aha for me was there because I was listening from people who are best in the industry, who were taking their time out to converse with me. As an industry, a lot of times we are all working in our own silos, and there's always so much work to do. And there are very few opportunities to sort of, just relax and hear things and discuss things. So, and the kind of people who came, even like we had one person coming from India who's a big leader in his space itself. It was great to have the opportunity to interact one-on-one with them, pick their brains, etc. In terms of the use of AI itself, I feel like my mind was blown pretty early on in the course, on the first or the second presentation itself, when we had this conversation, if you recall, about how you break down AI and how you don't look at AI as this big giant thing that you're going to just do, and how it begins with the small step, etc. And that was very eye-opening for me, because I actually realized that there are things that I have already done, and that also count. And that's also like, there are things I did 3-4 years back, for instance, which I thought that, were just like very basic tech things that I did, etc. But then I did realize that these small changes then add up to becoming like that big impact that we eventually have. So I feel like very pretty on, there was an aha moment for me, where basically the whole sense of how to use AI or how to interact with this new technology changed for me completely. And then I started seeing it. I see it very differently now. And it's because of that moment where we were like, hey, let's break this down.
Definitely. And I think one of the things that we've also explored in the Academy was about making sure that there are opportunities for small newsrooms, but at the same time, there are also risks that probably are different compared to the bigger organizations that work with AI and have a team. And so looking forward to the next steps in for rest of the world and for your role with AI, what do you think the risks could be, and what are the opportunities that instead you're most looking forward to?
I feel like the biggest opportunity I see in AI, as someone who's working with a nonprofit that is focused on the world outside the Western bubble, is inclusion. I feel like AI can be a great tool in making us more inclusive, making the internet more inclusive, making news more inclusive, etc. Very simple examples of that, and something that came up many times during our sessions during the academy, was translations, right? There is a huge population in this world that does not speak English, cannot read English, or it's just unfair to expect them to know one language just to know what's happening in their region, what's happening in the world, just to be more aware. I was very fascinated with the peers that I have in my group, always talking about translations, because I work in an English language publication. I have spent most of my career doing English journalism, so I had not. I'll be very honest, I had not really deeply thought about that problem. But as I heard my peers, I realized that how important it was for them, because they were doing very interesting and important work, but they were having to conform with this one language internet problem. And I feel like if it were not there, and if we could use AI to solve that problem, imagine the kind of diversity we will have on an internet. And then there's inclusion, right? We take those who don't have along with us and move forward. So I feel like opportunity wise, I see that as a very big opportunity. Of course, there are other opportunities. As a journalist, there's opportunities. All the opportunities are on all the points that were on your Jamboard just before we started the session, right? More data, more access, more tools, more etc. etc. Risks wise, since you asked, there are risks to everything. And when the profession that we are in has to be ethical, should be held accountable, should be held very accountable. As journalists, we should be, which means the risks are higher also. I mean, anything we do with AI. I was just having this conversation yesterday with someone about how it is so important that when I do something around AI, I measure it at levels of ethics which are probably not even defined or set out right now, because we see how other companies, private companies or businesses are using AI. So there are risks around ethics, there are opportunities that are unlimited, but I mostly see it as, to create an inclusive internet, to create a more inclusive digital world.
Definitely, that is such an important point, an opportunity with AI. Also, I think one of the value of this program is having the context from all these regions around the world. It's easy to think of AI and to think of journalism and kind of focus and be in your own bubble. This academy, for me, it's an opportunity to learn the different needs and the different opportunities as well for all the journalists across the world. And for Small Newsroom in particular, we might know what are the needs for a bigger organization. So why someone would be looking for more data, or what was the starting point for any of the projects. But for smaller newsrooms, sometimes AI has a completely different role. Or sometimes it's also not the solutions, and sometimes things need to be different. And that is one of the things that I think across the whole program, learning from you and from all the other 20 participants of your cohort, we touched upon across the program. So I guess just to get practical and to leave the audience with a couple of tips. What were for you the best practice to kind of bring and share with your own newsroom after you finished this academy? What were the top things that you were excited to tell them about?
You will be very happy to know it actually started with the program itself, because the project that you made us do at the end of it, I am already discussing with my team to make that happen. That is why I reached out to you a few days back saying, hey, I want to share this with the team, etc. So the thing is that during the academy, I saw a lot of examples of how AI exactly was being used in different newsrooms, right? And then there were some things that I draw parallels with hey, rest of the world can also do this. Or there were certain things that I was like, oh my God, I have personally struggled with this so much. So I will give you an example. The project, when we were doing it at the end, I'm sorry, I forget the exact terminology, Sabrina, if you could remind me. What do we call it?
The playbook for
the playbook.
AI.
Yes, I am so sorry. I'm very bad with the terminology. But so the playbook, when we were filling it out, I had this conversation where I asked you guys that I know there is one problem that we can easily solve, because I have seen now that there are ready tools available, but there is a problem that I personally face and I want a solution for it. I went for the latter, which was that I struggle with the CMS. I think the CMS hates me. Every CMS in every publication I've worked with hates me. It's very tedious. It takes a lot of time to build out, but it is also very critical, because if you do not build out your story properly, it will not be circulated properly. It's a very manual thing. There's no art to it. There's no value addition to it. It's a drill that you must fill out X, Y, Z, A, B, C, 1, 2, 3, so that your story is social properly, your headline properly, published properly, visually properly, photos. Yes, Matya, thank you so much for agreeing with me. Scientific facts. So in my playbook, I said that I would like to find a solution to that. And there are so many elements to it, right? There are elements like tagging, for instance, that we can easily automate it with AI or without, that we can tagging be made easy? I work in a different time zone. My publication is based in New York. So whenever I am publishing a story, I have to convert time and things like that. With daylight saving, coming, going, etc., that varies. You don't want to publish at the wrong time. So you already spend so much energy on a story, like making it good, shaping it up, reporting, etc., etc. I was like, if someone solves this for me, where I just type in a Google document and I just copy paste somewhere and the world just publishes magically with everything done. I am talking to my team about how these elements can be done. And the conversation actually started because I set up a call with the product person and I was like, hey, I did this course. Let's talk. She was like, yes, I want to hear more. And so we were talking, and then I told her about this playbook, and she realized for the first time that I did have a problem with this. She was like, I never knew that you guys had such, and so it's like your program has also given, or just talking about AI, or just having these conversations actually makes us realize that there are things we could have done yesterday, but we didn't do it because nobody talked about it. So I'm already working on certain elements of that. I have set up calls with my product person to continuously discuss which elements we can use AI and technology in. I wish I could tell you. So, at the beginning of our program, you had a couple of people from the previous cohort come in. And like kindergarten kids, we were asking them, what have you done? What have you done? Tell me, what do you implement? What have you, do you remember that? And they were constantly like, it's a long-term journey. It's a long-term journey. I find myself exactly there. I wish I could tell you, this is the percentage of time I have saved now because I'm using AI, or this is the percentage of ROI I have gained. I do not have those statistics as of now. I wish I do soon. Maybe next year when we are having this conversation, I come with some percentages or numbers. But I do feel that we have started in terms of just broad strokes of how the publication can benefit, but also like narrow strokes on how my life, my day can be made easy. My work can become more efficient, because also when I'm building the CMS, there's a big risk of me manually making a lot of errors. But if there's technology helping me out, and like small AI fixes that the product person was telling me that she knows how to do, which I thought was like, are you God? How do you know how this happens? Because it's like magic, some sort of magician work. So there are a lot of elements as a practicing journalist that I'm looking to implement this in. And there are a lot of elements in terms of the larger picture production and distribution of news and those things.
Amazing. Thank you for sharing your journey, Itika. I want to touch upon the three things that I think it's good to highlight from this conversation. So as you said, you start with defining the problem, and that is one key step to understanding how to implement AI in your organization. I think big or small, that's definitely a first tip and a best practice for everyone, understanding what is the problem that you want to solve. AI is great, there's a hype around it, but there's no need to put it everywhere if it's not needed. So that's definitely one of the things that were key and that we worked on during the academy, and definitely the final tools was clearly what are the first steps in implementation. And then second, one thing, having the conversations among your teams and across different teams, it's key, and it's something that doesn't really come up as often, but having the time and taking the space within the newsroom to ask each other questions. What are the issues that we have? How can we solve them? How can we start this AI implementation? And for editorial teams, it might be something that they don't think about, and then the product team instead has already ideas and solutions. So definitely taking the time and making the space for newsrooms to talk across teams, it's definitely a key tip for small newsrooms. And finally, collaboration. So none of these projects are done in silos. You always have to count on each other and find resources wherever you can across the organizations, across the region. So reach out to university, reach out to a lot of startups are also working and are available, because of course, one of the key things for small newsrooms is the lack of resources, and they're small, the team are small, and the time is missing. So it's a long way to implement AI, but definitely not a lonely one. I'm going to start looking at the questions that we're receiving also from our audience today. And Radwa is asking, what are the AI tools that you use in your newsroom? So Itika, from my understanding, at the moment, we're just starting. So
Yes.
Really?
which is starting. And also, I don't think, to be very honest, I don't think we are working with any available on the shelf sort of AI tools as of now, because we have also been, like Sabrina said, discovering that to do automation is not always AI, right? To do things that don't need AI without AI. So we are privileged. I mean, I'm very lucky that I do have a person, a developer, or like a product team, a couple of people. So they do look at our problems, but we have been trying to find solutions ourselves. But there's no tool I can say that, this is the tool that I use. Sabrina knows a lot of tools, guys, although I will tell you should ask her. She has a very, very interesting link, if that, like, a lot of interesting resources of tools that you can use. People were jumping up and down in the session, and last session when you shared that deck. Ask Sabrina.
Yes, so we do have a starter pack, an AI starter pack. I'm not the author of it, so I'm not going to take credit, but our wonderful Mattia put it together, and it's a wonderful resource for anyone who wants to start.
It's beautiful. I went down a rabbit hole one night and was like up till 2 o'clock because I was reading every link. It's very interesting.
Yes, let's hope it doesn't keep everyone awake until 2 a.m., but the excitement is there, and that's great. We have time for another couple of questions, so keep them coming. In the meantime, I also wanted to tell you that Itika is here from the APAC cohort, and we've covered different topics in different cohorts. So as I was mentioning before, the academy happened also in the EMEA region, and then after in the Americas. And it's so interesting to see how different the needs are also regionally. So one key one you mentioned already was language, but also just understanding what are the topics, for example, that are more intersected with AI and where the use of AI is very useful. So in the Americas cohort, our guest who was meant to be here, Maria Paula Murcia from Mutante, she couldn't make it today, but she would have shared with us a lot of different tips, especially for the Spanish-speaking newsrooms, and how they've been working on building libraries in Spanish so that they can also keep up with the developments. I see that we don't have any questions at the moment. So maybe we can already wrap up this a little earlier. But thank you so much, Itika. It's been wonderful to see you again. And I'm sure we'll be in touch and we'll keep talking, and I'm looking forward to following your journey on implementing AI.
Thank you, Sabrina. This is amazing. And do keep in touch, because like I saw you twice a week for many, many weeks, and now we don't see each other enough again. So keep in touch.
We'll definitely do. Thank you so much. And back to you, Mattia.
Thank you, Mattia. Bye-bye.
I expressly required the team to put me on screen while you were still on, Itika, because I wanted to say hello. Thank you for this beautiful, beautiful conversation. I think you explained incredibly well the challenges, the needs, and some of the first steps that newsrooms can make. I'm almost not ashamed to say that in the chat I did some PR from rest of the world, because I think your organization is amazing and I'm the biggest fan of the work you do, and of the visual design as well, which is one of the most beautiful in the industry. So thank you for joining us today. That wasn't the reason why I was here, but there is a question actually that came last minute in the chat. I think maybe in part has been answered already, but maybe if you want to leave us with one pointer, Itika, what is the biggest need that you feel like rest of the world has that you maybe wish AI can help you implement?
Well, I already mentioned that I had a big dilemma about whether I should look for AI solutions to help rest of world, reach a wider audience, translate in many languages, etc., or whether I should use AI to solve my problem that I deal with every day. I feel like the problems that we have are very similar with many other publications globally, but I feel like for us, the biggest problem that we would want all our resources to solve is to bring more and more people from countries that are often missed out, regions that are often missed out, populations that are often missed out in the internet narrative, to bring them to be more inclusive. We are rest of world. We are focused on rest of world. And language in all the sense, actually, I should just take a minute to mention also, like in our cohort, languages was not only about delivering stories in different languages, it was also language for transcribing, for instance, as a tool for journalists to have the ability to be able to, and in the region where I practice journalism in India, there are 120 official languages, I think, or around so. Those languages do not have representation on the internet, and then so many people don't have representation on the internet, right? And in professions like journalism. So I feel like the biggest challenge that that my organization would use AI to solve is to be more inclusive in every way we can. Thank you, guys. Have a good rest of your event.